Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Justania Lee, and if it's your first time being here, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that little bell so you can get notified every time I post. What I'm about to talk about, I think is the hardest thing I've ever had to talk about. Not many people know, one, what I went through, and nobody knows, basically. Very few people know my son's story. So let's get into it. I found out I was pregnant in April 4th, I think it was April 19th, around April of 2015, that's for sure. I had been in a relationship prior with my son's father for about a year. It was that typical thing of, I told him I was pregnant. Even after a year, he decided that he didn't want to be a part of that process, to say it in a nice way. My pregnancy was very complicated, and I started seeing signs of that early on. But little did I know, that was just the beginning. After that happened, that he said he didn't want to be a part of it, there was this one time that it was so early on in my pregnancy that I didn't even have like my first checkup, that I started having very, very bad cramping. I heard somebody playing basketball behind my house, my apartment. And as soon as I see who it was, I literally crawled from the second floor to the court where he was at, and I asked him and I begged him to please to take me to my mother's apartment that she lived near us too, so I can get help. He piggybacked me to her house. She wasn't there, and I sat down in her stairs, bleeding from my nose. I didn't know why at the time. Still don't know why. Hoping that he was gonna stay there with me at that moment with those painful cramps and everything. But he left, and that was the last time I saw him. In my first appointment, they found out that he had problems with his heart. So automatically they deemed me as high risk, and every appointment after that had to be seen by special doctors and all that. But the place where my new appointments were gonna be at, they were gonna be 2 hours away. So every appointment I had to go 2 hours away. Before me leaving to that new place with new doctors, they did give me the option to abort my baby. And I just couldn't. I knew that it wasn't gonna be as easy because I was alone. I didn't have no type of support at all. I didn't have it in me. I didn't have the heart, like, to take away his life. So I decided to go to those new doctors. I started experiencing hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is when your blood sugar goes very, very low. I couldn't be alone because sometimes it didn't matter if I ate snacks in between or big meals, I still will pass out. You don't know how many times I passed out in public. Like right now I'm getting flashbacks. I passed out so many times in public. Every appointment I went after that, it was disappointing because I found out he had something new. It came to a point that I really didn't even want to go to appointments because I felt like, why everything has to be so negative, you know? And I know that they were doing it because that's their job, and I never stopped going regardless because of those stuff. I just had to suck it up and deal with it because that's a choice I made, and I was gonna deal with it. Fast forward to the day I gave birth. I I was in a normal routine checkup, talk about what your experiences to this day, let me get your blood pressure, and that's what it was. When they sat me down to take my blood pressure, I think I had it in around 140 something, which I think it was high. And they didn't like believe it, so they were like, sit down, let's wait for like a couple more minutes. And I had to wait around 4 separate times for them to be like, oh no, something is wrong here. They diagnosed me that I had preeclampsia. So immediately, without a thought, you have to give birth now. Me being alone at that time, no friends, no family, no one to call, that I'm about to give birth. Can somebody come? I didn't have that. So I had to be dilated forcefully. My water had to be broken. And it was the worst 9 hours of my life. I just remembered every cramp, every contraction I would have. I would feel it, I would throw up, and I will pass out. And that's basically the whole 9 hours that I passed. Even though those were the hardest 9 hours of my life, as soon as I saw him, he came out like looking at me, like he came out looking at me. He was so small though, which I didn't expect something big because I am small. I'm just 5 foot. And at that time I was like, I could have weighed like 100 pounds and wet. But he was so small and he was so cute. But after that happiness was very short-lived. After that, I was in the recovery room. I had some nurses that weren't very nice. Only one of them that I can say, but the rest weren't very nice. So I had like a little argument with one of the nurses, and that argument, I guess, did something in me that I stood blind for 3 or 4 days. I don't know because I was blind, but I know it was around 3 or 4 days because somebody told me. Those days were hard because normally the only cure for preeclampsia is for you to give birth. That's why they make you give birth. I don't know if everybody's case is like that, but my case was like that. But catch is, because nothing in my life is easy. Catch was that even though I did give birth, the preeclampsia didn't want to go away. The doctor's telling me your organs, the liver, and some other stuff are failing. It was just a waiting game. But what I didn't know at that moment, I found out obviously afterwards, but at that same moment that I was going through oh my God, I'm shaking. That I was going through that, my son on the other side, he stopped breathing. So I always feel like we were connected because of that. And that even though I had given birth, 3 or 4 days passed, I still haven't met my son. Well, finally the day came that they told me you can go meet your son in the NICU. I remember I got all pretty, I did my hair, I tried to do my makeup, and I was so excited to see my son. And when I get there, I still remember the sounds of the machines and stuff. I remember I was in a wheelchair, so they gave me my son. And I knew as soon as I took him, something was off. Something wasn't right. So he was bundled up, and I remember opening the the blankets, and he was cold. He was very dark and very cold, and I just froze. I froze, and the machine started ringing and ringing, and it's hard. They took my son away from me, from my arms, and I had to see every doctor and every nurse. I had to see every doctor and every nurse try to make him breathe again, because he stopped breathing at that time. They took me super quick out of the NICU so I wouldn't have to see that. But I did, and as you see, that stays with you regardless. After that, they told me I could leave to my home after that, but he had to stay. He spent Christmas, my birthday, Three Kings Day in the NICU. Mind you, my house again is 2 hours away. I had to go every day. I had to go. It was 2 hours away, but I had to go even though every day I would go. So I would pump milk in my home, in my apartment, and I will go every day to take him milk, find out the new studies, things that they did, the labs, and I would ask every day, he's gonna come home soon? Is he gonna come home soon? They would still tell me like, we can't tell you now, it's too soon, or this. I still would ask, because it's sad that I think I got pictures. I don't know if I'm gonna show pictures because it's hard enough for me to talk about this. I don't want to show my baby in cables because he was so small, only 4 pounds. He had a lot of cables and stuff. But I passed Christmas there with him. I put a little onesie that said Merry Christmas. But back at home was hard too, because regardless that I was going through that alone, I had to deal with ignorant people. His father's family, they used to comment the most ignorant things, and they used to spread so many rumors, stupid rumors. After 2 months, the doctor decided that my baby can come home. And I remember that was like, I think 2 or 3 months. It was like, I think it was a Sunday. It was, I think, Sunday, January, so February 12th, something like that. I think it was January 12th. But I was so happy that they told me that your baby can come finally home. So I decided to take him to his father's house. When I got there, I was I was looked upon with his father. But I asked, is your son home? He just ignored me. I went up to his apartment, knocked on the door. His mother opens the door. She's like, what you want? Long story short, I asked for her, where's her son? She's like, she answered me with a straight face. He's not here. I sent him to the States because I want him far from you. And I'm like, since when he become the victim of all this? But apparently he was the victim. And I told her, not everything, because again, I'm so private with my son's things. I just told her he has conditions. I just told her a heart condition. And I think he should see his son, and he should know that his son is not very healthy. And she laughed at my face when I said that. She laughed because he had conditions. And there was nothing I wanted to do more in that moment than bash her head against the wall. I was like, let me breathe. I'm with my son. So I just walked away. At that moment right there, I knew that the karma that they were gonna get was gonna be big. And now I can tell you, if I could tell you all the things that has happened to that family, you wouldn't even believe me. But after that moment, everything, when I was finally alone, started crashing down. And like the realization that I was alone. He's out, but I'm alone in this. So I started remembering that every time I would take him, where I had to visit him in NICU, I would sing to him a song, and at home I would do it too. Because it was the only thing that would keep me actually happy and spiraling down a really bad path. So as my son grew, things started getting worse. He was diagnosed with epilepsy very early. Basically every weekend, I would have to go to where he was born, to that emergency room, so the specialist can attend him. And remember this one particular day that the seizures was so bad, and he started having them every couple of minutes. I quickly took him to the hospital, and I will never forget that day, seeing my son with all the doctors trying to put like a respiratory, I don't know what it's called in English. In Spanish it's called que le entuben. He couldn't breathe by himself, so they put this special machine to help him. But that moment where they put that metal thing in his throat was horrible to watch as a parent. And for some reason I was boiling mad, because I shouldn't have to be going through that alone. I shouldn't have to be experiencing all those big moments like that alone. I try to contact his father and let him know, this doesn't look good. I'm not sure if he's gonna make it. Please call me, contact me, text me, something. You know, he's your son too. Never got a reply. So thank God, if something that nothing happened, but if something would have happened there, it was just me, myself, and I that had to pick up those pieces. It was my job already. I realized that he was never gonna come. He was never gonna show up for me. He was never gonna show up for my son. It wasn't even about me at that point. It was only about my son. And I knew he wasn't gonna ever show up for him. So it was my job to take him to his 12 doctors, take him to his therapies, to make him smile, to make him laugh, to do everything in my power so he can live the most normal life that I can provide, regardless of his conditions. I will go every day. When I tell you every day, it's every day to church. I would pray. I would pray so bad for him to be able to have a normal life. I'm telling you, it's so hard. I would pray so, he can be healed, he can be healthy, so no kid will look at him funny and say something. I pray a lot. There's this thing that people say sometimes that I used to hear a lot. God gives special kids to special people like that, and I think that's one of the things that kept me going. after going to church, I think like when he was 1.5 years old, things got like a miracle happened. Things got, well, I didn't know they were gonna get that good. I met his now father, and I call him now father because he has been in his life since he was 1.5 years, and him and my son are like inseparable. He loves that man so much. I wasn't planning on meeting anybody. I wasn't in that mindset of meeting anybody. I was purely focused on my son, his doctors, and his therapy. That's what my life became. So dating was like over there. It wasn't even in my mind. But he popped up. We fell in love. It was a long distance thing. So he bought a ticket for me and my son, and we started living here in the States. And it was the biggest blessing because not only did my son gain a father figure, it benefited him for so much, because for those years and months that we had to go through in where I used to live before in Puerto Rico, we went a whole year with unanswered questions about why is this happening to him, all the seizures and this. Nobody can give me a clear answer, even though I would fight so bad for him to get special testing done. But the medical structure in Puerto Rico is not very good. But once I came here, it was like all my prayers were answered, that I finally can know what did my son have. But at the same time, it was like, oh, this is what my son has. Oh, this is what can happen. I don't want never to be negative, but I still to this day have a lot of fears when it comes to him. My son, his name is Kai Darian, and he has 3 syndromes, very rare syndromes, so rare that it just happens to one in like one in a million people. It's all of the conditions that he has are very rare, the syndromes. One of them is called Beck-Wiedemann with Hirschhorn, and the other one is Silver something. I don't remember the last name. The reason I'm saying this, I don't like again to talk about my son's personal things, but the reason why I'm talking about his conditions, just to see if somebody out there, their sons, their daughters, them has the same conditions as my son. When I found out that he had that, so you guys can understand, it affects his brain, his development, his eyes. He has epilepsy. It affects his heart, his kidneys, his liver, his muscle tone. It affects basically everything. For the longest in Puerto Rico, I was told, your son, like the beginning, they told me abort your son because he has defects. They told me he's not gonna make it out of NICU, so prepare yourself. They told me if he makes it out, he won't last. He will die around when he's 3 years old. He will be very sick always. he won't be walking. He's probably gonna be a vegetable. Not probably, he is gonna be a vegetable because he's not gonna walk. He's not gonna talk. I still prayed a lot every day. This is so hard. Once I got here, I don't know, because there were so many people that he wasn't around before, that he got motivated. He will army crawl, but that's the only thing he could do. He started crawling so quick. As soon as we came, he started crawling. He started trying to babble words, things that he wouldn't even do before. We started noticing that things that we said, he would respond to in his own way, but he will respond. But I know he gave me like a feeling that he understood the things that I was saying to him, even though he couldn't respond back. Fast forward to now, Kai can walk. He started walking actually this year, but I knew he could walk. He just didn't want to walk because he was scared of falling. But I know he could walk, but he finally is walking. He talks more now. He doesn't talk like a kid of his age, but he does talk. He understands way more, which I would say somewhat of his age, not completely, because he does have developmental delay, but he does a lot of things that doctors said he could never do. He likes to sing, he likes to dance, he likes to draw. He is he is one of the happiest kids that I've seen. As for as for his father, he got his karma, and I think his family got their karma. Even though this year, I think it was, or last year, I put him on child support because that's the least he could have done. And even though he fought for me to give him, for him to pay less, I'm like, after all we've been through, and you so cheap and you still can't pay what he deserves. No, either you pay me this, or you're gonna have to give me the money you owe me since he was born. So obviously he had no choice, but he's not needed. My son, thankfully, is surrounded by people that are crazy in love with him. He has a family now. He has everything. He has everything now. He's not missing not one thing. That's it. The rest is yet to be written and lived. But that's my son's story. I hope you liked it. It was very hard for me to share that. I said I wasn't gonna cry, and I still cried. That is a very touchy subject for me. But I hope you liked it. If you or anybody you know has any disabilities, any conditions, any physical thing that you may notice that may not be normal, please treat them with kindness. Please get informed about what they have. Don't make them feel any less of a human than what they are. That's all I can say. Thanks for watching. And if you made it this far, and if you cried with me, please make sure to like this video. Please subscribe. Share this video. Share this video, even though I don't want people to see me cry. But I do want to hear from people that are have gone or going through the same thing I went through. Well, that's it. Please come visit my channel soon.